Hello, everyone. Today I want to actually share something besides Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. So, I'm actually writing a book that's pretty much the fundamentals, which are the basics of some music theory, but mostly for beginner bass players. So, playing the bass might not be as complicated, so to say, as playing a guitar, because the guitar you have to learn all these different chords and stuff. With the bass, a lot of stuff is very melodic, which is similar to indie music. So you might learn chords, but usually not playing chordal type of bass if you're playing for bands and other stuff like that, or learning music. Usually it's individual notes at a time, which they would call arpeggios, right? So it's the notes of the chord and are expressed in the order that you need to express those emotions and feelings that vibe with the song. So I'm writing a book that's focused on the bass guitar for beginners, and it covers so much stuff. The one thing that I notice is most courses and books in general are very niche. It's just they teach you an idea or a concept and then leave you in the middle of nowhere. It's almost like me giving you a GPS or a compass, not even a GPS, just a compass, and leaving you in the forest, or just giving you a map and leaving you in the forest, or giving you a flashlight and leaving you in the forest, right? It doesn't tell you how to navigate through it, and it doesn't tell you how to get from part A to part B or further than that, right? It just gives you an idea, a course of lumped concepts, and that's it. Like, even for instance with when it comes to the pentatonic scale, right? People are like, oh, box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, box 5, learn the shapes, learn the patterns. But usually when you learn that type of way, you're stuck in that place, right? So then you just practice scales all the time, or triads in a very specific way, and you notice it becomes very monotonous over time. And then what's the normal thing you hear from beginners? I feel stuck. Even intermediate players, even some advanced players, I feel stuck, because they didn't learn the musicality and the concept in a very broad way. They learned it in a very mainstream way, and this is how people usually make money on books and courses, where it either keeps you stuck or it leads you to the next one. That's just another thing that puts you in a box and you feel stuck again. And it doesn't help you become a musician, it helps you become a person that learns patterns. And patterns is not music. The goal of this book is not to give you more information that leads almost nowhere. It's to build you up in a progressive and systematic way. So the book is filled with concepts and lesson plans that help you learn the concept and build off of it. So, I already made probably around at least 80 or so lesson plans, right? Where each one builds on top of each other. This will help you not only learn the concept, but learn the way to use it in an open way that helps you really understand how to play and how to become a musician, not just a person that copies music that you hear, and learn patterns. And this is super important, because so far with any of the courses, which I've already purchased a lot, and books, it just puts you into a different box with a different color and doesn't really help you break out of that box. And this is so important. This is what motivated me to write this book. One thing I would like to say is I'm not a professional bass player, not a professional any kind of musician, but I am a beginner. And the thing is, I've already written several music books on classical indie music, because I studied that for 7 years. Okay, so I have a deep understanding of music, but in a different way. But I noticed one thing about the bass guitar: it has a lot of similarities with the classical indie music. So I'm not coming out of left field with this. For me, learning as a beginner a Western music system and the bass guitar it already made my mind start to go, wow, why isn't it taught this way? I have an amazing teacher, that's for sure, and he's helped me really start to look into these things in a very different way. But of course, my brain goes in a different direction along the same lines and starts to systematize things and starts to look at things that are so mystical and make it very simple for people to understand. So if I'm having a great teacher, always leads to great students. So my teacher, Charlie, he always says, I don't want to teach you stuff that goes in patterns. So that helped me to understand a lot of things in a very deep way, in a very fast way, within my short journey so far of learning this instrument. So for me, learning the classical Indian music, which a lot of jazz musicians end up learning because of the improvisation with the ragas and the tals, this helped me a lot with understanding the Western music when it comes to just learning how to play the bass guitar. So right away I was like, wow, there has to be an easier way to learn this, because I've gotten tons of books, different video courses, and a lot of them fall short in certain things. So I'm trying to actually create a bridge between everything that gives you the most bang for your buck, where if you go through this book, you'll see right away it's not only coming from a person who's on the journey with you starting from scratch, but also, even though I'm a beginner here, I'm not a beginner when it comes to music, understanding music and music theory. So I present that all to you along with my journey to help you along with your journey. Because most of the time people get to a place where they get really advanced, where they forget how it is to be a beginner. They talk to you in a certain way that you don't understand. It's almost like another language, which it totally is. So I'm demystifying all that. So I'm going on this journey along with you. I'm learning a lot as I write the book and putting it in order that I think is going to help you the most, from beginner all the way up to possibly advanced. That's up to you once you start to go through it. But I'm a beginner on this journey too. The only thing is my mind likes to figure things out in such a complex way where I could present it simply. And that's I guess the benefits of being a neurodivergent. So I'm coming from the place that you are too, as a complete beginner. So nothing comes from here and then rocket ships up where you don't know what's going on. Everything is literally fed to you in a very simple and systematic way that I think you'll really enjoy. One thing that I focused on heavily in the beginning, which is something I noticed from guitar, of course, you have so much going on. But for most beginners, it's not even fingering the chords and putting the placement of the fingers that's difficult. It's usually strumming. That's the most frustrating thing. That's the biggest obstacle that could lead a lot of people to not even wanting to learn after a certain period of time. And I remember about 20 years ago, one of my friends convinced me to buy an expensive guitar, an acoustic, and he said he'll help me. Of course he didn't, because he's already advanced and he had no patience. And I was like, man, okay, I could hold the notes, but I'm gonna break the strings. It's like I had no idea how to strum. This is why you could see from the show Shark Tank, the Chord Buddy, right? He made this contraption that goes over the chords where you don't have to worry about really learning the fingering. You just press a few buttons and it'll make the basic chords of, say, a C major scale. And you can really focus on the strumming. The strumming is so important with the timing and how you hit the notes. It's just the most important thing, right? So the one thing that I really focused on in the beginning of this book is open strings, because the bass is more of a finger plucking instrument. You could use the pick just like the guitar, but the bass, you could use a pick, you could use your fingers, right, to hit the notes, and you could also use your thumb and stuff when it comes to slapping bass. So in the beginning, I don't even focus on fretting any of the notes. In the beginning, it's a lot of musical patterns with just open strings, moving up and down the strings, going across the strings, and then playing them in rhythms, whether it's a whole note, which is one note lasting for 4 beats, whether it's a quarter note, one note per beat, and then building on patterns like this. So I made a big effort to making you learn how to use the instrument in a musical way without even knowing how to fret the notes. So just knowing how to strum or pluck the strings is so important. And I made lesson after lesson where you're learning how to play, how to read music in a very structural way where it's not overwhelming. You're learning notes, rests, which is pausing or muting the string, and then also different patterns to go along musically. Of course, you'll need a metronome for this, but of course you should be learning the bass with a metronome, so you're learning rhythm and timing. So in the very beginning of the book, the first quarter of the book is really heavily focused on that. So it's open strings where you could start to read music, play music, and notice that you're actually going somewhere. And then from there, I start to introduce what scales are, what notes are in those scales, how to figure out a major chord, how to play a major scale, a minor scale. And then from there, within the scale, learning triads. And I mean, I just done so much work. It's gonna be so amazing, and I guarantee it's gonna be that one book that blows your mind and teaches you so much within just a single book. Because I have a ton of charts that I've done musically that have also the tabs. So you'll have the music notation here and the tabs on the bottom, and you'll start to learn how to read not only the tabs but also the music, because I do it in a repetitive way, or I build on top of it. And then from there, you'll be reading music staff, which is bass clef staff, right? You'll be learning that. You'll be learning where the notes are, how they sound, how long to hold them for. All these things are all integrated throughout the book. So I'm really excited. I started writing it probably a week and a half ago. Today's Christmas Eve. I'll probably be a few months from now before I have the book ready to print and go out. Most likely be on Amazon, but it covers really everything. Once the book is done, I'll have a video showing you the book itself, but right now I'm in the middle of it. It's probably going to be around 200 pages or more. So right now, today I focused on what a diatonic scale is, how to figure out chords, what are arpeggios. I have graphs for everything, showing you the whole layout of the fretboard, what the scale degrees are depending on the root note. I have it where I show you all the octaves for that specific note, and with the bass guitar you have a low octave, middle, and a high. Depending on the note you're using, you have more options or less options, right? Like a low E, there's only one, so I have that. I have everything just mapped out where I take out all the guesswork and I explain it in such a systematic and understanding way that's easy to apply right away. And it's gonna be a lot of fun because I made a ton of lesson plans. It's not just here's these melodies, here's this concept, and then here's something to practice, here's a pattern, here's a shape, the pattern, and then I leave you in the dark. There's a ton of progressive lessons that stack. And this is probably the only book that I've seen where there's lessons that progress. And then once I give you a good foundation in that concept, then I go to the next lesson that focuses on something else. So I'm super happy to share this. I'll keep you posted. All right, have a happy holidays and a happy new year.